Welcome back to the David Pakman Show. I am Farron Cousins from Ring of Fire, sitting in for David today. You can follow me on Twitter at FarronBalanced. Find me on Facebook, facebook.com/FarronBalanced. YouTube, youtube.com/The Ring of Fire, and my other YouTube channel, youtube.com/FarronBalanced. Let's get back into more of some of the news here. And I think one of the biggest non-stories of the last week was Mike Lindell's Cybersymposium that, as we all know, came to a close at the end of last week. August 13th came and went, and in case you haven't noticed, Donald Trump is still not the President of the United States, nor did we see President Biden and Vice President Harris resign, as Lindell had also predicted at one point. Now, to his credit, sure, he had pushed back the date of Donald Trump's reinstatement. He said, well, it's not going to happen August 13th, maybe September. Now he says maybe later down the road, but now it's really looking like it's not going to happen, as if it was ever going to happen. Here's the thing. The Cybersymposium was an absolute crap show. That is about putting it as nicely as humanly possible. The guy got up there on stage, kicked the whole thing off with Steve Bannon, who, by the way, later in the week came out and actually criticized Lindell for not providing any evidence at all. Like the packet captures. Where the hell were the packet captures? Because they were nowhere to be seen. And, of course, the rest of the symposium was nothing more than just PowerPoints that people had put together with numbers that they didn't source from anywhere. They just said, well, here's what it was, but here's what we think it really was. And they provided no evidence at all to back up their little phony numbers that they threw up on the screens. So, there was that. Then, of course, we had Mike Lindell's own cybersecurity expert gave an interview to the Washington Times where he said, yeah, there was no evidence of any hack at all. So we could not sign off on Lindell's claims that there was a hack. Lindell insisted there was anyway. And in fact, actually, when the Gateway Pundit reported on the Washington Times interview with that cybersecurity expert, Lindell got up on stage and he said, well, obviously the Gateway Pundit person is a CIA plant. Then, of course, you had his claim that he was assaulted in his hotel room. Or not his hotel room, in his hotel lobby. And no record of this. He showed up the next day, not a scratch on him. No police report filed. So as far as we know, there was no actual assault that took place. And then on Friday, at the end of all of this, Lindell comes out, gives an interview, basically tried to explain away why the whole thing was an abject failure by saying it's because Antifa infiltrated the Cybersymposium. That was his excuse. Antifa infiltrated the Cybersymposium. They went in there. He said they changed the name tags. And then they disrupted. That also didn't happen, by the way. I feel the need to point that out. That didn't happen. But here's the thing. He didn't say what they did after they changed the name tags. So, did they change the name tags and just go sit in the crowd and watch? Because if so, I don't think that's throwing the whole thing off. I think that's just whatever. The point is, there was never any evidence. And that's why that Cybersymposium was a completely fact-free event. The only part of it that was even mildly entertaining was when he found out his lawsuit, defamation lawsuit against him was going to move forward, and he bolted off stage, came back, did a 7-minute rant against Dominion voting systems. And again, in an interview after the thing ended, he said, oh, well, we're gonna have it all. Oh, and he had Alan Dershowitz join via Zoom, I believe. And Dershowitz said, oh, yeah, in the lawsuit, the discovery, all this will come out. Bring it. Dominion is clearly not afraid. Dominion, as far as we know, has absolutely nothing to hide. But what we do know is that all the ridiculous claims that Mike Lindell made on stage will be used against him in a court of law, because he won't stop the defamation. So yeah, he's in trouble. He's in a lot of trouble with his followers because he didn't give them any information. Again, even Bannon, the guy who has platformed Mike Lindell for months and months to spread these lies, called him out for not producing any evidence. The packet captures that Lindell had been talking about for months were nowhere to be seen. And he also really destroyed any legal defense he may have, of course, in that defamation case. So rather than ending with a bang, Rather than ending with the reinstatement of former President Donald Trump, Mike Lindell's cybersymposium ended with a whimper. A whimper that is really going to make it hard for him to defend himself in this Dominion defamation lawsuit.
If you're a guy, the place you want to go for better skin is Geology, one of our sponsors. Geology has skincare routines for men that actually work, personalized for you by a dermatologist. Whether it's dark, puffy eyes, acne, oily skin, or you want to protect your skin, Geology can help. You take their quiz. A dermatologist matches you with a unique skin regimen designed for your specific needs. You'll get a 30-day trial with the treatment they recommend. If you like it, they'll keep sending it to you. It's not a magic cream or bogus miracle, whatever. These are just clinically evidence-based products used by dermatologists, tailored to you by a dermatologist. You're only getting a treatment that you actually need. I took the quiz. The dermatologist matched me with a treatment. It's working great. I love how my skin is looking. You really can see the difference. Go and take Geology's free quiz. And when you use my link right underneath this video, you'll save up to 40% on your first month.